No crit knife, no problem. Okay, so unlike the previous build that I made, we are not going to be relying on the knife because of course they're going to address that soon, and you don't want to have to rely on something that will eventually be nerfed. This Vex build mixes both the 4th seal and the Vexalation skill tree together. We're going to be making use of Dead Ringer, not Incarnate, for something different. Of course, this will give us access to the Reapers and the Spectres. So the main focus of the build will still be bleed and crit DPS. We'll mostly be summoning Spectres for the damage, but you might want to throw a Reaper in there as well for some health regeneration. So first things first, we're going to go 5 points into Cold Iron. Vex gains increased gun damage 15%, and our minions also gain gun damage as well, 30%. Now, Portents of Suffering, we're going to go 5 of 5. It's a very important one. Vex and her minions gain increased status effect damage, and a lot of this build is status effect damage build up, so yeah, you really want this. And then it's totally up to you. You can either go Coven as an augment or you can go Wither. They're both pretty good to be honest, but we've opted for Coven. As you can see there, spawning a Reaper grants us some health regeneration, so survivability. Then if you spawn a Spectre, you obviously get critical hit chance for a duration as well, so that's pretty nice. Mainly going for that for the crit chance as well. And yeah, if you need some health regen, just pop a Reaper out. So then we're going to go 3 points into Grave Quickening, of course, because we want to be able to spawn our Spectres quite frequently. 3 seems like a sweet spot. You probably could go 2, but I've done some testing and 3 is fine. You probably don't need to max this out. For the kill skill, Vex gains increase action skill cooldown rate, and like I said, we're trying to keep them up as often as possible. You're going to put 1 point into Blood Sacrifice, which activates kill skills whenever Vex's minions die. So when our Spectres or Reapers die, we activate those kill skills, which is very important. Now we're going to go for Prismatic Eye Core, because when Vex or her minions apply status effect, which we're going to be doing frequently, it applies another random elemental status effect, so it stacks. And a really nice one we've gone 5 of 5 in is Keen Suffering, because status effect damage gains a chance to critically hit. So 20% there on top of that, so it means when we're applying these random status effects as well, they have a chance to crit, which just stacks the damage on top. And for the capstone, we go Heirloom. This gives a copy of our gun to one of our Spectres that we summon, and they gain 100% flat out damage for the copied gun for 10 seconds, which is pretty nice. We come over to the Here Comes Trouble tree, and the reason for this is Grave Sustenance. We go 1 point here, restore a percentage of missing action skill duration. So, of course, we'll trigger this quite often. You only need the 1 point in there. I've done some testing and it works pretty well. So now we're going to come over to Vexalation, arguably the best skill tree for Vex, and we get Grave Sights 5 of 5. Vex gains increased critical hit damage and gun handling. And then we go 5 points into one of the best passive skills for Vex, which is Bloodletter. And we also get a +5 from our class mod as well. We know that gun and skill critical hits have a chance to apply the bleed status effect, causing kinetic status effect damage over time for a duration. The chance percentage, because of our class mod, is actually bumped up to 50%. You could probably be fine with 5 points here without the class mod, or if you got a +2 or something like that. But of course, it just makes it so it's gonna proc more often. Now we move on to Grave Power. We're going to put 3 points here. Vex's kill skills gain increased maximum stacks. So now instead of having a maximum stacks of 3 for Grave Sights, we get 6. We're going to go 2 points into Target Pre-Science, because Vex's gun damage gains a chance to crit against any part of the enemy, and although it's only 6%, it's still nice being able to hit a part of the enemy and gain that chance to crit. So Keen Mind, we're going to put 3 points here. Vex's skill damage gains critical hit chance against any part of the enemies. So our Spectres are based off of skill damage, so that means when they are shooting enemies, they also get that chance to crit against any part of the enemy. It's similar to the Target Pre-Science skill. Now we go 5 points into Ars Arcana, because Vex gains increased skill damage, 40% increase there, just for more damage for our Spectres, because that is what the build is based off. And that is it for the skill tree side of things. Now let's take a look at the gear and the firmware of this build. Can't really be without it. The Hot Slugger, an absolutely amazing shotgun, probably the best shotgun in the game in my opinion. It is a Jacobs one. I love Jacobs, and the unique effect is amazing too. So on kill, you deal 30% damage for 10 seconds for a max stacks of 3. And because it's a Jacobs weapon, critical hits will ricochet projectiles to nearby enemies. Then we have the Vladof Assault Rifle Wombo Combo, probably one of the best assault rifles as well in the game. It has a cool unique effect, rip rockets. Rockets automatically fire from the underbarrel, and honestly, this is probably one of the best weapons in the game to take care of vile enemies. Seriously, it's crazy. You want to try and get one in each element as well. I managed to get shock, radiation and corrosive so far, so just have them in your backpack ready. Apparently this can roll with a Hyperion license part as well, so look out for that. Another shotgun here, the bod. It is an amazing weapon and it counts as all types of weapons in one. It's really good. You can swap between the modes as well. So we have 2 options for shotguns there. We also have another Jacob's weapon here, the Jacob's pistol, legendary one, and it is the 7th sense. There's a cool unique effect there, so hitting enemies spawns orbs that float upward and home in on target on reload. The Khaosan SMG is actually a pretty nice weapon you can use as well. GMR is pretty powerful too. I also really like the plasma coil, and of course we all know about the kickballer, and the Oscar Mike's pretty nice as well, especially if you can get the alternate firing mode, which is the space laser. Pretty powerful for bosses. So for the rep kit, we've gone for the triple bypass legendary, and it has the unique effect heart pump. This rep kit has 3 charges and has a 30% chance to replenish a charge on kill. The amp effect is great for bosses and also just tougher enemies in general. Getting that big burst of damage just from the first shot is nice. And as I said before, we're not using the crit knife. We don't need it. We're going to be using a grenade that I absolutely adore, which is the fire pot grenade ordnance. This legendary grenade, in my opinion, is one of the better ones in the game, and it has the unique effect on it, spicy, which spawns homing torg stickies over time. We also get expansive as well, so the grenade damage radius is increased by 41%, which is nice. And we have the firmware gadget high, which we're going to talk about firmwares anyway. Now on to the class mod, and it can be quite difficult to get the +5 into bloodletter, but it can help. You don't have to have +5 into bloodletter, and there are other options with this build. However, we get the 30% status effect damage, we get increased splash damage there, and the kinetic damage 40% is nice also. Vex does have legendary class mods that you can test out, like the Team Witch one, but I've found it's better to use this one, especially because we got the +5 to bloodletter. Now a shield that is probably considered one of the best in the game is the fireworks shield, and especially for mobbing anyway, because of the unique effect bundled. So on kill, spawns missiles that home in on nearby enemies and deals 7,436 damage each. This is really nice, especially when you're doing the drill sites as well. And here we have the legendary enhancement, the Merciless Hat Trick, and this is Jacob's. So you get the bounce pass and the sequencer. So bounce pass is the guns with Jacob's license parts increase the number of possible ricochets. Sequencer basically grants consecutive critical hits and stacks 5% bonus damage for a max of 8 stacks. And then of course the extra effects on this are the gun critical damage 50% and a splash radius by 50% also. Let's talk about firmware. Like the previous build, we are 3 of 3 in Deadeye, because of course critical hit damage is increased 25%. Every critical hit grants 15% critical damage per stack for a max of 5 stacks for 10 seconds. You also get an accuracy boost there for 30%, which is nice. This firmware bonus is up to you, but we've gone for gadget ahoy because ordnance cooldown duration is reduced and we get an increase to the damage. 20% for the damage and 15% is the reduction for the cooldown rate. I have a great grenade here, so I want to try and get this out as much as possible, and this allows me to do that. I missed this out of the previous build. I am sorry, I apologize, but the specializations aren't that different to the previous one, and we're going to be going for compounding affliction, so enemies take increased damage for each status effect that is applied to them. And because this relies heavily on status effect application, this is very important. Now we also have contamination. Critical hits grant increased status effect application chances there, so we get 10% per stack for 10 seconds and a max of 10 stacks, which is really nice. Now because we're trying to scale skill damage as much as possible as well, killing an enemy with a critical hit will cause them to explode, which the initial percentage of damage is 50% on hit, which is great. Lastly, we have Riddle You This, which I'm going to change and I'll explain in a second. What this does is whenever the Vault Hunter deals gun damage, gain a stack of Riddle You This, increasing gun damage. So stacks are lost though if a new stack has not been gained for a duration. You get 1% per stack up to 50 as well, so up to 50% for 6 seconds, which is nice. However, at some point when we get enough specialization points, I will be going into Honed Mind. This requires you to have 20 points into Daredevil though, and action skills gain a chance to critically hit enemies and also gain increased action skill critical hit damage. Really good there, so 5% there and 50% for the action skill critical hit damage. Just a quick one before we end the video as well. I really just want to say thank you for everyone who supports the videos, comes into the streams and spends time. It really is important to me and it means a lot. So if you are enjoying the Borderlands 4 content I'm making, drop a follow, leave a like and comment as well. And hopefully you're enjoying Borderlands 4 as much as I am, and I'll see you in the next video.